How do we structure the majority of the essay? The introduction and the conclusion are just two of your paragraphs. So we're going to talk about body paragraphs. So in a classic 5-paragraph essay, you have an intro, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. So obviously the majority of it is the body paragraphs, but the 5-paragraph essay is only the shortest of academic essays that you're going to face in a college level class. And so whether it be English or anything else, most of your writing is going to be much longer than that. So your intro and conclusion are still maybe only 2 paragraphs, but you might have something like 6 or 8 or 10 body paragraphs or more, depending on the assignment that you're writing and the length of the assignment. So the body paragraphs, their purpose is to contain the supporting reasons and evidence for your argument. They are your argument. Your intro is just introducing the topic and ending with your main claim. And the conclusion is just wrapping it all up. But your argument happens in the body of the paper. So we need to think reasons and evidence, right? Logic and data. So when you're thinking about the appeals, you're really thinking about logos in particular. They might also be thinking about ethos and pathos as well. Okay, so if we look at just the body paragraph on its own, you want to begin each body paragraph with what we call a topic sentence. Now, just like a thesis can sometimes be delayed, a topic sentence can sometimes be implied, a topic sentence can sometimes be delayed, but in the classic structure that you kind of want to begin with until you feel more comfortable to experiment is to begin with your claim, right? Begin with that supporting claim. So it is a little bit like a mini thesis for your paragraph. You need a narrow topic and you're making a specific claim about that narrow topic. It's also a supporting reason for your thesis. So if you are talking about pineapples on pizza, it's a reason why you think they belong on pineapples belong on pizza, or it's a reason why you think they don't belong on pizza. And so it's one of those more narrow supporting ideas. But you need support for your support. You can't just make claims. Arguments aren't made by saying, it's this way because this is the way I like it, and I don't care what anybody else thinks, because you're trying to persuade or convince other people. So you need to think about your audience. What is it that you need to do in order to persuade them? So within the body paragraphs, after you make that topic sentence claim, you want to think about yet more supporting reasons or supporting ideas and supporting evidence. And a good way of thinking about it is what I call or many people call the sandwich, where you have a claim, evidence, commentary, a supporting idea, evidence for that idea, and then commentary where you're explaining it. Now, it's important that that claim supports your topic sentence. It can't be off on some other tangent. And it's important that the evidence is reasonable evidence that's to support your claim. And you want to make sure that if it's coming from an outside source and not just from personal experience, and most academic writing is text-based, right? You're talking about an article that you read or a book that you read, though it might also be a video that you've seen or an interview that you've done or a poll or some other sort of research mechanism. And then you need commentary. You need to explain it. And the way I like to talk about this is a good lawyer doesn't just bring evidence and say, there, right? I've given you the evidence. A good lawyer is going to explain that evidence. The good lawyer is going to think about where might my audience, the jury or the reader, get confused about what the evidence is trying to prove. And so you need to explain it. And we're going to kind of move on and I'll give you examples. The other part of the classic structure of the body paragraph is that somewhere within the body paragraph, you're going to have transitions, but you also need to think about strong transitions between your paragraphs. And it helps if you think, first of all, about your overall organization. If you have organized your body paragraphs just randomly based on what you thought of at the moment, that's going to show because you're going to have trouble transitioning between paragraphs, or those transitions will be weak and kind of artificial. But if you've thought about it, if you're moving from your least important point to your most important point, or your most obvious point to your least obvious point, or if you are moving from causes to effects, or from maybe if you're talking just about effects, you might be talking about immediate effects and then long range effects. Maybe you're talking about the way that something affects an individual, and then the next paragraph is how it affects the community at large. So you want to think about that overall organization. Now, your first draft might not be all that organized. So if you're struggling with transitions, before you work too much on the transitions, think about the organization. Then think about the relationship between one paragraph and another. Are you moving from cause to effect? Are you moving from immediate effect to long range effect? Are you moving from, you know, one topic to another? What is the relationship between those topics, so that you are weaving together the ideas from one paragraph to the next, and you're guiding your reader gently through the essay. And then in terms of where you put the transitions, they actually can go in really kind of two places, and you don't need to do both. And you can vary where you put it. It might be at the end of a paragraph where you're kind of giving a preview. It's a little bit like when you watch an episode and there's a preview of what the next episode's going to be, or the Easter eggs at the end of the Marvel movies, where you're like, ooh, there's going to be another movie about this, and here's a character who's going to be introduced, right? Loki is going to be in this next movie. Or it can be at the beginning of the next paragraph where you're kind of pointing back to what happened before. And that's like when you're watching a TV show and it says in the previous episode. And so it's just a reminder of what came before and how it relates. Okay, so time to demonstrate. So continuing on our pineapples on pizza idea, my topic sentence, and I'm going to identify all of these, but let me read the whole paragraph to you, and you can please read along as well. A compelling reason for the presence of pineapple on pizza is that the sweet, acidic flavor of pineapple pairs well with the savory, salty flavors of other common toppings. For instance, see, there's a transition in the middle of the paragraph as well, okay? The original and most common pairing is pineapple with Canadian bacon or ham. And now I'm going to use textual evidence from research that I actually did on this topic. Pork, so you see the quotation marks, right? You got to make sure you're not plagiarizing, right? Pork and pineapple can be as graceful together, end quote. Now I'm going to say, quips Carmen. And now I'm going to begin the quote again, quote, as Margot Fonteyn and Rudolf Nureyev, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, end quote, a famous pair of dancers. So this comes from an article written by somebody named Carmen, right? And obviously supporting pork and pineapple as a pairing. Now I'm going to use a different source. Chef Emily of the restaurant Emily Squared argues it works as long as it is, quote, balanced and not overpowering, end quote. So I'm embedding the quote now. And that she herself, quote, loves pineapple kimchi with pepperoni, unquote, quoted in Ritchell. So Ritchell is the author of this particular article, but Ritchell is quoting Chef Emily. And so in the earlier one, I was splitting the quote with quips Carmen in the middle. In this one, I'm embedding partial quotations. I'm not using the whole sentence, just partial quotations in a paraphrase, right? So I'm paraphrasing the overall idea and then just quoting a few choice phrases, okay? then I move on to the point of pineapple is not for it if oh, I'm missing a word there, for it to be the dominant or only flavor, comma, but to blend with or balance out the salty and spicy flavors. Think of other sweet and savory combinations like salted caramel or even tomatoes, also a fruit with cheese. It is likely this combination of flavors that has earned pineapple its popularity. I'm continuing my love of the letter P in these examples. Ritchell reports that, quote, and notice that I don't have a comma because of the word that, pineapple made it to the list of 10 most popular pizza toppings, end quote. Clearly, a lot of people must enjoy the flavor of pineapple for it to make the top 10. Pineapple adds something to the overall pizza experience. Now, let's break this down. The first sentence here is my topic sentence. I'm supporting the idea that pineapple does have a place on pizza if it's balanced out in terms of flavor. Okay. Then I have a claim, evidence, commentary sandwich. And I actually have, this is more like kind of a triple decker sandwich. um, so I start off with the claim that the most common pairing is pineapple with Canadian bacon or ham. I have two different sources, and it's really nice when you can synthesize ideas from multiple sources, supporting that idea of pork and pineapple together. And then I um, follow with commentary. Now here's where it gets a little tricky because real life is never so simple as the structures that we often create. This sentence here is both commentary for what happened before, the evidence there, but it's also kind of leading into the next part. So I'm creating this as a claim as well as commentary. And then my evidence is more personal experience. Think of salted caramel or tomatoes with cheese, right? You know, tomatoes with cheese is kind of core to pizza, right? I mean, there's some non-tomato pizzas and there's some non-dairy pizzas, but that's rare, right? And then I have my commentary here. Now I want to point out that again, the commentary is also kind of serving as the claim for the next idea. So I'm going to click and our third piece, and I'm going to see if I can't move. Oh, it's a little bit outside of the range of your site. I apologize. Let's see if that little thing will go away. Yeah, there we go. It went away. All right. Um, so now I have the claim that pineapple is very popular. And so I use Ritchell, who talks about it being in the list of the 10 most popular pizza toppings. And my commentary ends the paragraph. Okay. And so in this case, I have um, really at least four pieces of evidence, right? I have the quote from Carmen about pork and pineapple being like a pair of dancers. I have Chef Emily saying it should be balanced and not overpowering. Then I make the analogy, I'm arguing from analogy, right? That sweet and savory do go together because otherwise we wouldn't like salted caramel and we wouldn't like tomatoes with cheese because tomatoes are sweet. There's a natural sugar in tomatoes. Okay. And so I'm having sort of a triple decker sandwich here. It's like when Dagwood in the comic strip Blondie, if you ever read the comics, creates these really tall sandwiches. Okay. I didn't really have a transition in my example. So I wanted us to imagine that the next paragraph is moving on from flavor to talk about the issue of juiciness. And so I could end the paragraph we just saw, or I could begin the next paragraph with these sentences. However, flavor is not the only element that makes up a good pizza. It's important to consider texture as well. Okay. And you can see that naturally fit at the end of the paragraph we just read, but it would also make sense at the beginning of the next paragraph. It would just mean that the topic sentence would come after this. And the topic sentence for this paragraph would clearly be about texture, and juiciness is a texture, at least in my book. Okay, so now it's time for you to try. Your turn. Think about one of the supporting claims that you want to make in your essay. What evidence do you have? How can you do that claim evidence commentary? And how can you transition?